appreciate what you said, Barry, about providing shelter is like the tip of the iceberg for dealing with homelessness and people who are experiencing homelessness. And I have a lot of ideas about how we can combat issues that are factors relating to why people experience that. But I want to hear from you guys if you have any ideas on policies or programs that we could support as a community and put in place as a community, starting from like birth all the way up, that could impact the reasons why people experience homelessness.
So I want to come back to the ID issue and another issue. At the end of the day, if you don't have the fundamental building blocks to be able to participate in society, it's impossible. The kids that are denied access to having education, and it's a big problem. It's approximately 20 million people in this country have no identification. And the numbers are, some people say, well, there's 10 million illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants. That's still 10 million Americans who are born here who don't have the right to identification, can't vote, can't get a job, can't do anything. And so that's one of the first things I would work on, is working with helping them navigate that, because it's really difficult. A lot of states will not give you identification unless you can provide identification to get the documents. The second thing is, and that leads to things like crime, survival crime. The second thing that I'd bring up is one of the things that's really impacted me on this job is I spent, I know I'm over time, I have to finish this thought. I spent a shift at the 911 center, and I sat and I listened to a call come in, and the person said, I was sitting next to, said, oh, I know this kid, he's had 50 run-ins with the law. His first one was as a victim of child abuse, and society has never helped him go through that.
The question was about specifically what can the county do for early life. We have programs that we're trying to fund: nurse-family partnership, domestic violence and prevention. I mean, things that really intervene early on to maybe prevent some of the situations that are going to lead people to the crises that might end up making them homeless. And we're not spending enough money on these things. But if we try to pay for these things, you might get attacked by people saying they're raising their taxes. So that's a real dilemma that we face.
I really appreciate your question. The first thing we have to do as a community is understand how much of an emergency this is and how big of a problem this is. It's not just a blight on the community. These are lives. These are families and kids and literally life and death situations out there. So that's the first thing we need to do, is understand that we are in a crisis and we have to do something now. That's why the three of us and members of the city council formed this work group. The second thing we need to do, once we can kind of get our arms around that, is to be able to figure out how to get out into the county and find the pockets that are out there that aren't so obvious to everyone. We have to be able to identify those and then work in the same kind of a framework to be able to take care of those folks, because they didn't ask for this. They didn't want to be homeless. It's something that's just such a tragedy, and it breaks my heart to see it.
Yeah, good question, and you're right, there is a community element to all of this. Is by the time there's homeless, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that have happened prior to that. So it's like, how do we support the youth in our community? Because the youth, and they eventually grow up and then they have problems. So, being involved in Boys and Girls Club, giving kids a way to have structured activities, stay in school. I was also a founding board member of Communities in Schools, which works to keep kids in school and increase graduation rates. Because if you don't graduate, your chances of getting a job are not good, and it doesn't give you a lot of opportunities, and then the spiral continues. So focusing on those youth programs, making sure that kids stay in school, the county can, skate parks, other activities. That's something that's a fairly simple things that, parks, activities, trails, other kinds of healthy activities that can help kids, stay focused and not get, the opioid crisis. That's a whole other topic. The things that we can do to combat that. It's unfortunately there's not a silver bullet. It's a lot.
Todd said my answer earlier wasn't the right answer. And I think that's kind of funny because unlike me, I'm pretty sure that Todd never spent a summer having to live in a tent and then had to move out in front of his grandmother's house in a trailer home and live on the street. My family did, and it was because my mother was a single mother and lost her job. And that, she couldn't find another job. I don't, neither do you, so you.
No, I know where I've lived, man.
Okay.
I know what's going on with my family.
My
You're
job-
saying You don't know about my family? You don't know about my
Are you
family?
using my remote?
No, I mean, go ahead.
All right, thanks. If we both get elected, it's gonna be really fun. Here's the point that I'm making, is that jobs do matter. And creating more jobs is a way for us to help prevent this problem for everyone else. And there's a lot of different options or problems out there that are fueling this issue, right? It's not just jobs and it's not just housing, that's correct. There are things like mental health and prescription drug addictions as well. And those are things that we have to address. But we can't do those, we can't address those with one giant umbrella and hope that that umbrella covers everything. Because unless we focus on specific issues, we're not gonna have the impact that we wanna have. So we need to get outside of that. And we need to start looking at what are the issues with each of these special groups, especially here in Bellingham. I'm gonna tell you that that's not a government thing. Government can help, but creating a focus group isn't gonna have the impact that we want it to have. What will have an impact is if the people in this room go out and you all start a business and you hire 2 or 3 more people under you. And that prosperity that you create, you can pass along and you can invest in all of these issues. I figured Todd was my.
Amy and then Tom.
No, I'm not gonna take their time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. So I had a kid in Bellingham in 2000, and there was a program. There was a nonprofit organization called the Mother Baby Center, and I had a student midwife, Katrina Monroe, actually, who's been catching babies at the birth center for years. She finished her midwifery degree by coming to my house and hanging out with me and my kid. When things went bad, we had some light nursing issues, and she helped. She drove me to the Mother Baby Center. She got me glycerin pads. She brought me a breast pump, and within, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, like 2008, 2009, that program closed because federal funding dried up. So those are the kinds of programs where we can meet people right where they're at, deal with their specific problems or needs. And those are the kinds of things that I want to see. That and Head Start. I think Head Start is awesome.
It is really complex. Over 100 families are homeless. We know that families who are homeless result in children who become homeless as adults. So I think one thing we obviously know is we've got to house families. We don't have any shelter that's for fathers and children. We have mothers and children shelters, but they're all full. So I'm not really sure whether the idea of a 200-bed lower barrier shelter run by a religious organization, as much as it won't use religion, everything in there is Christian. And nobody walks out saying that they're praising Allah. So it is what it is, and it's all we've got in town because we're looking at something big. I think what we need to do is have small shelters for different types of families throughout the county attached to counseling and therapeutic services. We can do that with our law and order money, which is going to lock people up. I'll say that 1,000 times. I also want to say that the small public-private partnerships that we talk about should be small, not big 200 bed.
Well, I'm going to give some of the existing county members a chance to use their little red ticket here, because I believe that the current county council people are honorable people. But are these new problems? I don't think they're new problems. During the tenure of the existing county members, county council members, these problems have been existing. Have they been solved? I don't believe so. I think you guys need new members on the county council to solve the problem. And if you vote for me, I'll fix the problem. That's clean Phil.
No.